If you don't want to have a life at all, you can be your partner's everything.
How can someone be your everything when you're basically diminishing yourself?
That is crazy. Stop it.
And you know what I saw while I was growing up in the church? That the God-fearing people are the biggest freaks.
Your faith should live out in your actions, not in your introduction.
They want to deal with the secular women and try to convert them into Sister Jenkins.
And so what I think a lot of women do, or people in general do, they are so quick to cut people off without even having a proper vetting mechanism to see at the heart of which what their concerns really are.
If you're not trying to make a family, then you can probably get through life without being married.
Life is easier when you have a partner to share and build and grow with. There really isn't a right response to having your son killed unjustly.
But I guarantee I would not run down a stranger.
Welcome to yet another episode of the BLC Pod. And I got all my people
with me.
Yeah, okay, come on, man. It's this right.
We should have rehearsed.
Thank you.
We should have rehearsed.
You're right.
I wasn't ready.
I figured after 5 episodes, I literally didn't have all my people with me, but that's okay. We'll try one more time. And I got all my
From the top.
People
with me.
See, now,
I was the only one with
There's
me.
only
Right.
one conductor here, Jay. There's only I'm just playing. And one more time. And I got all my
Now hum
people
it.
With me. Yes.
With me.
With SNM and them.
Okay, you know what? We'll come back for episode 6 because apparently you weren't
Nobody
ready
comes
for
to see you,
time.
Otis.
I can see what type of time we are already on. But
It's
before
like
we
this.
get there, right, we want to remind y'all, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and all of that good stuff. And comment too. I see y'all tapping in with the comments. And also, don't forget the merch, y'all. That's right. We got shirts. We got all kinds of stuff. I mean, I know it's getting warm, but get the tees and all that. We got some new stuff coming. Definitely tap in for that. You heard what I'm saying? But listen, speaking about having all my people with me, I feel like we got to start with our girl Tia B in the back in the building.
Hey.
Love, what's happening?
I'm so happy to be back. I'm doing great. You know, I missed you guys last week. I watched the show and y'all held it down for us. So I saw that I have to come back and kind of, shake things up a little bit this week for the ladies. But I went camping and got bit by a black widow and almost died last week. So I'm happy to be here. I don't know who does that, but I did that. So happy to be back.
Yes, not the resurrection episode. Is it Easter already? I thought Easter had already
Man,
passed.
it was Easter all over again, they told me.
Yes, appreciate y'all. No, we really, listen, I know one person who's really happy to have you back. You know what I'm saying? SNM Jones in the building.
So yes, thank you. I am excited to have you back because I'm telling you, I was dodging like this last week. I was like,
saw you.
I was on the ropes and I was like, oh, got it. And so with that being said, welcome back, ma'am. If anybody appreciate you being back, it's me. But you know what else I appreciated? The Met Gala, A$AP Rocky and Russ. Woo! They keeping their women pregnant. As a matter of fact, I think they're starting to get this nickname of the impregnator because every time we look up, their wives are pregnant. I was about to say something else. It was going to be inappropriate. But anyways, so I appreciate that. But not only that, did y'all check out the looks for the Met Gala? They was looking good. I'm talking about all of the Met Gala looks were on point. Even Lauryn Hill, who showed up on time for the first time in her life. And she was looking like a banana a little bit, but it was still an on-point banana and the mask look. I appreciate it. So, Lauren, we see you. Thank you for being on time.
Yes, for the Met Gala, but not the show that people paid money to go and see her. No, I feel you on that. Just Jay.
Yo, what's
Shade
up?
early on the episode, right? What's happening?
Real early. I ain't wasting no time. So Mr. Goodwoods, it's lyrical, and LS Insight of all things in shapes and sizes. Speaking of which, I turned my attention to how the average American is also getting screwed right now, whether they're married or not. That insider trading thing I mentioned earlier, When I say your boy Trump was doing kind of dirt, it looked a little shady. Apparently, there's some people who were like get paid to do that. They were, I don't know, elected or something, like DAs who are looking into it too. So yeah, I think there's a story there. Matter of fact, it's not just the Pope where there's some smoke and fire. How about that?
Yes. Okay. Appreciate that. Way to stick the landing there, Jay.
Thank you.
And of course, we got our man Delvin the Expert. Del the Expert. What's happening, man?
Man, everything is good, Nick. Everything is good. Glad to be back. Glad my girl T is back. You know, I got my hair cut today, had my barber bless me, and I was feeling real fresh out the chair. And you know how it is after you get your beard tightened up, you're thinking about leaving your marriage and going back to the streets. And then I saw that the going rate is just me. Okay.
I got a haircut too, my brother. I was like, it's going on 20, but goddamn, I look good. But go ahead, man.
Yeah. And then I'm leaving the barbershop. I'm about to say, hey, look, it's over between us. And then I saw a story that the going rate for dates are $1,000 deposit, and I can't afford that, so I have to stay in my happy marriage. So the rumors are not true. I'm not going back outside. Women are charging $1,000 deposit. I don't know if that secures anything. I don't know if you get it back or it goes towards a meal or a vacation or something in the future, but that's what's happening. So if you got somebody, stay with them, and that way you won't have to pay a large deposit, you know? So, you know, keep Black love alive, but don't pay the deposit. And also, I'm doing our pre-production. I had to check the streets of Houston to make sure you guys are good, and because there's a vicious little list going around about the trans community, and they're outing people who are dabbling in the trans. Of course, you know, we listen and we don't judge, but I checked the list twice, and nobody from the BLC podcast is on it. So you guys are good, and you know what? I believe in you. I knew you guys wouldn't let me down. So kudos to you guys, and give yourself a round of applause.
Yes. A couple of y'all had me a little nervous, but you're right. Thank you for that. That's what you're an expert in? I didn't know all this time. That's what she was an expert in this entire.
Yeah, I gotta check the outing list to make sure you guys aren't on it. You know,
Hey, listen,
I do it so you don't have to.
Yes, and you know what? I love that, Delvin. Thank you for that. I'm gonna take a moment because this weekend, if I'm not mistaken, is Mother's Day, right? Like Sunday is Mother's Day. And I'd be remiss if I did not mention that. And the reason why for me to mention it, right, is because I've been a dad for going on 4 years. My wife has been a mom. And, you know, last week we were talking about the whole selfishness thing in regards to not having kids, right? And in all sincerity, like, we were being selfish by not having a kid. Low key, we were fully capable and able to have a kid. And we were just like, man, we just enjoying this dink life. So I guess I was speaking from a personal place last week, right? But now being a parent and with Mother's Day coming up, it makes me appreciate moms even more because I got a chance to see it like from the inside, right? I was a kid when my mom was doing it, but as a father, as a man, seeing my wife do it, and it just kind of gives me a different level of appreciation for moms out there who hold it down and do so much for kids. And for us, even as fathers, you know what I'm saying, holding it down. So I do want to tip my cap to all the mothers out there for this Mother's Day. My mom, everybody's mom on stage, all the amazing moms out there. You dig what I'm saying? The moms who are not so amazing. I mean, listen, you know, do better. Maybe we'll check back with you next year. And the last thing I would say real quickly is because, so I'm still kind of struggling. I haven't gotten my wife anything for Mother's Day. You know what I'm saying? But because we more like rock like every day is supposed to be what it's about, right? So that's the dichotomy. But I'm gonna figure that out. But I do want to shout out Ebony K. Williams on this Mother's Day because I was sitting there thinking to myself, you know, she ain't got to do. Now, so my wife got me. I'm the Mother's Day gift, if we're really gonna be honest about it. But she ain't got nobody. So my thought was, what do you give a woman to go out there and just create a baby on her own? So I went to ChatGPT and I'm like, hey, ChatGPT, here's a list. Here's Ebony K. What are some great gift ideas? So real quickly, for any guy out there who is dating a woman or who wants to be with a woman who had a child in vitro by herself or whatever, here's some gift ideas. Number one, custom legacy jewelry. This is all by ChatGPT. I love chat. So custom legacy jewelry, right? A necklace or a bracelet engraved with her child's initials. Come on, man. Can't go wrong with that. Self-Lux Care box with a card that reads, because you do it all, focusing on her ego. Personalized art pieces, the power of one, because it's really all about her and the accessory. I mean, the child. Number four, a signed first edition or rare copy of a book by a woman who chose her own path because she needs encouragement. Audre Lorde comes to mind. Bell Hooks, of course, she's probably read all of those. And lastly, a Just Us experience, like a mommy and me resort retreat because it's just her and the kid, not a man. So anyways, for any guys out there looking for gift ideas, Chat may be a great place to go to find that special somebody that you're trying to be somebody special to, a special gift for Mother's Day. With that being said, SNM, let's start this motherfucking show.
I was like, I love the extra amount of shade that you threw out there, but those are actually great ideas. And so low key,
I'm a great gift giver, by the way, just be clear.
Right?
Okay, before chat, but go ahead.
I was like, low key.
Before chat.
Before chat.
Okay.
Before
'cause
chat.
I was worried
BC.
about
Ask about me.
Okay.
Now you gonna let AI know your wife better than you?
So
It's a
speaking
T
of
that-
knowing,
okay. I mean, there's no shame in
Knowing-
my game. You got it over there, chat? Yup. You know?
speaking of knowing everything, there is someone who stated they are everything. They are the alpha and the omega in their relationship, or they expect to be the alpha and the omega. And this comes from a viral clip with Dr. Bryant and Trina, where Trina was basically saying that as the partner, as the wife, she expects her husband to see her as his best friend, as his kumbaya, road dog, everything on the under the sun and everything in between. And so my question to you guys, can you be your partner everything? Is that actually realistic, or are we setting some unhealthy expectations here?
If you don't want to have a life at all, you can be your partner's everything. You can do it. If you don't want to be yourself, if you want to completely abdicate all personal self and preferences and desires and ambitions, and yes, you can be your partner's everything. And when they die, good luck finding out who you're supposed to be. But yeah, you can do it. It's exhausting, I think. I wouldn't recommend anybody try to do that. I think that any woman who's asking for that is selfish and insecure. And the reason why I say she's selfish and insecure, because she's going to make him suffer, because she cannot give 110%, whatever that means. It's mathematically impossible. So she's going to disappoint him, and she's going to make him be frustrated because she's put him in a box where he can't get out and pursue any other options and ways to make the situation work better and be more equitable. So yeah, shame on her. Boo, that's woman. Boo her. Boo.
Yeah, I think that's entirely too much pressure to put on one person. I mean, I'm not even everything at work. I mean, would you like that? Sound like it would suck, you know? My wife and I first started dating, I said, "Listen, I'm not going to be everything. If that's what you're looking for, I'm not it. That is entirely too much pressure, and I will constantly let you down. And I don't like being set up for failure. You know, I like you for you. Do what you like to do. Do your thing." And then let's involve each other in what we like. But I'm not going to be, if I'm your entire source of entertainment, when does that leave any me time? I'm just constantly trying to entertain you and placate you and, jump through hoops. And you know what? It's okay. Listen, I'm really into Star Trek. My wife does not know which Enterprise they're on now, who's the captain, none of that shit. And it's a big disappointment. And I feel some kind of way about it. But you know what? It's okay because that's my thing. And she has her thing. She's not my Star Trek everything, as much as I would love for her to be that, you know. And it's too much pressure. I'm not going to put that on her. I'm going to let her do her thing. And just like it's selfish, man. You just be your own thing and then come together and make it work and create something new.
I always hate people who think that life becomes so much more grand when you have to be partnered with someone else. I think there's some truth to that, but any one thing that you do too much can be problematic, whether it be your partner, relationships, church, the gym, right? Because it builds an unhealthy attachment to things. And we have to be conscious of that, right? Codependency is problematic because it leaves someone feeling less than when the other person isn't there. So when you give someone that much power and ability to say that my whole world focus is around and shaped around you, then you lose a part of yourself when that person isn't there. So the goal for me and what I tell my clients would be, when you're in a relationship, coexisting is great as long as you're existing as an individual as well. You have to be able to exist before you can coexist. You want to be able to take care of yourself, self-care, and all the things that you as an individual have your own friend groups. If not, then when your husband or your wife goes out and hangs out, then you're going to have jealousy issues. You're going to have problems. So making someone your whole everything just isn't a good something to plant a seed in.
As the only person on this panel who has a song called Everything on Spotify, and anywhere that you get your music from under the name Nic Nice. Not saying you should go and check it out, but this was done back in 2003. And somehow, this is even before Spotify even fucking existed, right? It's like, how did it end up there? But it's actually on there. So I can't have this conversation and then have somebody pull it up like, hey, Nick, you said, no, I'm going to come clean and be like, yo, I had a song that said, you're my everything. I adore me and more you. So many things in life that we can look forward to, right? Now, the reason why this is relevant in this conversation is because I grew up in the old school R&B era, where I guess now in retrospect, we're calling it simping music, right? Girl, lately I will cry for you, all that, right? So when you talk about people expressing their love for someone, like we used to in some of those old R&B jams, and like I did in my 2003 semi-hit single, Everything, back then, is when I was dating my old. Anyways, the point is that, yes, I felt that way. You know what I'm saying? She was my queen. There was one like, I just want to plant my seed in your soil. Come on, man. It took 17 years for that seed to eventually be planted. But the point is, it was just an emotional expression of how we felt. So now, with that being said, now, are these ladies being for real, for real? Are they just kind of being funny? I don't know. I do agree. In the relationships where they're being serious and they feel like that's, I want to be as everything. Okay. You dig what I'm saying? That is crazy. Stop it, right? Because in truth, you can't be enough if you want to be somebody's everything. You'll never win that math. But I will say this, though. There's a lot of women who aren't doing enough. So where can we find the common ground? You know what I'm saying? Some of y'all
Do more.
ain't doing enough. And then you got some of y'all that's doing too much. Never too much, never too. No, there isn't too much, man. So yes, can y'all find some middle ground to where it's like, because I don't know, if I had to pick between you don't do enough and you're doing too much, where's the best rose for your needle? It's never too much, never too much, never too much. So I'm just saying, I get y'all. I feel like y'all taking it too literal. There is an expression, hey, you're my everything when it comes to the corner of my heart in this moment in our relationship. I could be outside and you might not be as everything as you were when I was there with you. Come on, man, stop.
So I actually hated that phrase, by the way. You're my everything. I hated hearing it. I hated reading it because it didn't make sense to me. So how can someone be your everything when you're basically asking that person to not, you're basically diminishing yourself, right? To be that person, everything, to represent that everything to me. And so I feel that it is unrealistic because at the end of the day, it's an unhealthy boundary and it is rooted in insecurities to me. And I say this because when I initially got married a long time ago, that was a phrase that was used and I had to understand it because I didn't understand the phrase. Like I knew what it meant holistically. I understood what it was supposed to represent, but I didn't see how we can apply it to our relationship because I had my friends, he had his friends, I had my interests, he had his interests, and none of that, and some of it didn't actually align. And so am I supposed to sit there while you play Madden because I'm your everything? So I'm going to root there and sit there and root for you, or am I going to go do my own thing while you play Madden, right? And so just like I love anime. Is he going to sit here and watch some anime with me? Hell no, because he don't even understand why I like anime. So it's one of those situations where you can't be somebody everything because your interests don't align. And if you act like your interests align to that 100% where everything, then you're literally just a mimic. You're literally just a shadow. And to Jay's point, then who are you if that person is no longer with you? And then you have to go through this whole mission of finding yourself. And I just think that's somewhat creepy to me, where you want to be the person alpha and their omega, their beginning and their end, and everything in between. I just think that's creepy because who the hell are you and where the hell is your life? And if you don't have a life, then I suggest you go get a life, because when that person decides that you ain't his everything, then he gonna leave you and you're gonna be sitting there crying because you was like, but I was his everything. I thought I was his everything. And so I'm just gonna say hard pass on the everything. And I think that for her to go through a list, because she also just talked about being even his daddy. And so, maybe happy Mother's Day to her too, because maybe that's his mama too at this point, because if she's everything, that means she's trying to fulfill all the roles that exist in a relationship. You know how back in the day, and I'll land here, they used to say, for women in particular, you have your best friend, but then you have a male gay best friend sometimes, because that male gay best friend, and then you have, well, you know what? I take that back. it actually wasn't best friend. It was gay male friend, followed by the dude you effing, followed by the dude you eating and gaming for money and so forth, because one guy could not be your everything. I'm not encouraging that in any shape or form, but I just noticed that if you couldn't find that in your relationship, then how the hell you expect to be the same thing for this dude? So I don't know.
I mean, listen, I think you guys make some great points, right? And those are certainly red flags. But before I was going to segue to the next story. I just wanted to say this real quickly. Like, I won't do that. Most of y'all won't do it. But if somebody else wants to do it, you know what I'm saying? That could be kind of attractive a little bit. That's not my business. If you want to dedicate your life to me, all right, cool. You know, I ain't making no promises. I'm just saying, like, I don't know.
Until you can't go to the store and she calling you 36 times, leaving you 12 voice messages and sending a smoke signal up looking for your ass.
But I'm just saying, if you want to go to the store with me.
So you spent too long in the bathroom. What are you doing?
Right. So maybe that's a red flag. And I guess, perfect, bringing it right back to the segue, speaking of red flags, Joy Taylor said, any man who leads with God, as S&M would say, with the Lord, is a red flag. In a clip, in an interview that we saw on the internets. I mean, Jordan kind of disappeared and then she came back. It's like clip after clip. It's like the second episode back to back. You know what I'm saying? We must have Twitter fingers. So what are y'all thoughts in regards to her belief that men who be pushing P, or not preaching, pushing G, pushing God. It's a red flag. Pushing P kind of is like, that was a Freudian. What are y'all thoughts about her thoughts?
Yeah. Freudian slip. I agree. If I'm online and doing any kind of dating, and it sounds so bad to say it out loud, but if it says God-fearing, put God first, I swipe left on that bitch too fast. But my reasoning is hella fast, but my reasoning is I know that I don't live that life to kind of meet you where you stand religiously. Right. And so I don't want to waste my time when you say, I want a Psalms 31 woman and I'm putting God first. And I'm like, I'm still kind of outside and I just know it's not going to mesh. So for me, it also creates a standard of what his expectation is. And I'm not interested in appealing to that. So for me, yeah, they're the quickest that I hit left on. And I love the Lord. Don't get me wrong, but I don't need to use it as a as a skill to get someone to date me. I don't think I have to, advertise that God is my first and only. I'm cool on that.
I'm actually curious because we do have a God-loving person on the panel, Jay, to hear your thoughts.
He's coming in a Hyundai. No, all right. So
I didn't expect you to say him.
Tie my tie, untie my tie. No, okay, seriously. I think that first, okay, it's all about context. Okay. And yes, I am what is known as a pew baby. Like my mom joined the church when she was pregnant with me. So it was really like grew up in church. Now, that being said, yeah, I know, right? People look at me like, this him? I mean, look, I'm multifaceted. Deal with it.
Pew you said baby. A pew baby, yeah, P-E-W baby.
But I was pew in there too. You know what I'm talking about? Anyway, that's another story. So, people tend to lead with the whole God thing, and Tia, like you, I swipe when I was swiping, I would immediately swipe away from that. And the reason I would swipe away from that, I understand why they're doing it. I think they're doing it because people proclaim a faith or a belief to try to say they have some sort of code of ethics that you can at least kind of hold them to and judge them by and navigate a relationship with them with. It's almost like a charting course or rules of engagement that they're saying they will abide by. Now, most people are not what they profess and they believe, so you can do what you want to do with that. All right. But beyond that, people also, I think there's like a proverb in the Bible about this, really, ironically, and another proverb that's not in the Bible. It says that people say what's on their heart, right? So people, if a person leaves out with, I'm a man of God, or God sent me to talk to you, or God this, God that, it makes you think that majority of your interaction with them is going to be like that. You know what I mean? If that's not what the conversation you're trying to have all the time, then I understand pushing on. That's why I push on. Not that I have anything against believers, right? Who are actually believers. They're rare, hard to find. But when I meet them, they're nice. But honestly, I think it's beyond the issue. Your faith should live out in your actions, not in your introduction.
Whew, I'm glad you said that because Devin, can I jump in real quick and say
Go
this?
for
Or
it.
you okay?
Ladies first.
Excellent. I love it because this is what I'm gonna say. I also grew up in the church, and to the point where I taught Vacation Bible School, children's church, Sunday school, all that good stuff. And you know what I saw while I was growing up in the church? That the God fearing people are the biggest freaks. They the biggest hoes. They the biggest doing everything in the background. And the mama say praying 6 days out there, hoeing, slutting, cheating, lying, stealing 6 days a week. And on that 7th day, that's when they show up to the church talking about, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
Repent.
And, and so I'm just going to say this. I agree with Joy. If someone leads with, I'm a God fearing, the first thing I say is, okay, so you probably a hoe and a freak and a liar and a cheat. Because your action, if you have to say it, then that means most likely you're not living it. My next thought is Derek Jackson, because he was God fearing as well, but he also had a whole plethora of booty calls. And I also want to call him like a gaggle of women and so forth and some other things. But then I had to catch myself because I'm not wrong. Yeah, no,
that's the
not
G
really.
you were
But
going
I'll think
for?
about something that happened last week. But moving on. How I felt on the show when I was like this on the ropes. And so anyways, with that being said, I was like, so I think she has every right to that because a lot of times when someone says that, now when it's men, I'm going to talk from when a man say it to me, it means that they're about to be judgmental. They're about to use that as a pass to judge you on your actions if your actions don't match what they are looking for in a woman. And now you could say that technically you should be judging on actions anyways because that's what they're looking for. But they're using the Bible to manipulate that so that they can ultimately get what they want and their desires. I have a problem with that. Now, for women, when they say they're God-fearing, they be the biggest freaks too. But when they say they God-fearing and they're looking for a God man, it's normally because they're looking for a man who may be considered traditional in value. And when I say traditional, I mean financially and so forth. And they're looking for that guidance and so forth so they can have that soft life. But at the end of the day, they all hoes. So, yes, I'm going to say I agree that God-fearing is a red flag if they're living that life, then their actions should show it. And so if I meet you, I should be able to feel your aura. I should be able to feel your energy and see that you lead with God that way and not with your mouth. Because people say mouth all the time. You can stick a puppet and be like, mouth, 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 mouth. And it's just a puppet. So
Leading with your mouth is crazy. But, I got
Great way to
all of
lead.
Maybe you should. That might not be a bad thing. But I got all of you PKs, preachers' kids beat because I have 8 years of Catholic school under my belt with the uniforms. So that is serious debauchery and all kinds of foolishness business, But yeah, I think it's kind of creepy to lead with that in a dating scenario. It's kind of like I want to date you, but I want to appeal to authority to convince you to try to be with me. And I think you could just skip all of that by dealing with the kind of women who are already on that kind of time. Sister Jenkins is down at the praise and worship. Nobody's checked for her. She already is on the kind of time. She's already a God-fearing woman. Go where the God-fearing women are. The problem is a lot of the guys, the guy with the Holy Spirit and is looking for the righteous woman with the bonnet of salvation on. They want to deal with the secular women and try to convert them into Sister Jenkins. That's what's really happening here because the guys who are really on that kind of time, they know where those kind of women are who are on that type of time. They're at the singles ministry. They are at the praise and worship conference. They're at the they're doing the choir rehearsal. They know what those kind of women are. So why they're not going over there? Maybe because they know they're not as big a freak as S&M thinks they are. Then maybe they oversold it. But they want the secular woman, and they want to paint her with the bonnet of salvation, with the big hats. And I think that's what's going on. They're trying to, hopefully I can find somebody that's going to mirror me and shadow me and get on this kind of time and be at first Sunday with me. So I think it's a little sleazy.
So, what's funny? I was having a similar conversation with a homegirl of mine, right? And I'm going to tell y'all why I'm pushing back on what y'all talk about, right? Because I do get, because she said something that was telling to me. She said she was triggered. She admitted that she was triggered. So immediately I said to myself, okay, she is likely to have an irrational response to a situation that's triggering her. Unless, I guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, she got healed and she's able to kind of work through it, because this is what I'm saying, right? We live in a world where people, like, you have a resume, right? On the top of your resume, you try to highlight the best parts of you. People are trying to adjust on dating online, and they believe, based off of conversations that are being had, and if they have a base of which they have a moral resonance to God, that, hey, I'm just putting it out there that, yes, I do hold God important in my life. And somebody who resonates with that will tap in. If that's not you, cool. But to be like, oh, that's creepy that a person would lead with that, to me sounds like a person who's triggered. Because what I was trying to tell my friend was that I get that people are having a hard time discerning and vetting people. And so what I think a lot of women do, or people in general do, they are so quick to cut people off without even having a proper vetting mechanism to see at the heart of which what their concerns really are. If her concern was that a man's going to use religion in a way to control her, or any plethora of things that was mentioned here today, there's a way to vet for that beyond just the fact that he chose to headline his belief and faith in God, right? Like, I get it. That may be the case a majority of the time, right? You guys may be right, but I don't think it's like 98-2. It might be maybe 60-40 or 70-30. But here's a problem that I have. Most of y'all ain't good at finding each other. Y'all don't have enough track record, including Jordan Taylor, to say to any of us, to prove to us that you had an ability to vet properly. So now that you want to use this as a mechanism, I'm only pushing back to say that we have a culture now that people are so quick to cut everyone and everything off and ghost people at the drop of a dime, because they're not willing or able to do the work necessary to discern better. Just because you cut somebody off and you avoided that, sure. But what if you also cut somebody off that was meant for you, but because you still are triggered, because you still haven't fully healed, because you still are going through things and standing in your own way? Y'all be sitting on sounding empowered. It doesn't sound empowering to me. It sounds cowardly, because some of y'all be quick to quit on a situation and calling it, oh, I was able to vet. How? You're not able to discern in any other areas of your life properly. You got a job that you don't like. You done dated a bunch of niggas that you ain't rocking with. Your bills ain't where it needs to be. What area of your life have you proven to be a good vetter? Right? And it's including Joy Taylor, because even when she was vetting for employment, look at the bullshit she got into at the job. What areas of your life has shown you that you are making good decisions? Was she vetting properly? Was she fucked with old boy? So maybe she needs a God-fearing man in her life to provide her with some fucking direction, because otherwise she's just out of here running her goddamn mouth, making a goddamn mess, thinking it's cute, and ultimately she might end up alone wondering why I wasn't able to find somebody. For people, God provides direction, some level of comfort. I get it. I'm not even the most religious nigga, to be honest with you, but I just do not like the idea that just because it's not our bag, that just because we can't just have the humanity to understand that some people have been told that, yes, it is a virtue to be a God-fearing person, and you don't have to be out here fucking hoes and being a fucking degenerate. There are legitimately good Christians out here who are doing the best that they can, and I'm sorry if they're not sophisticated enough to navigate these SEO-filled dating apps for y'all motherfuckers so quick to swipe left. Now, I'm not talking about you, Tia, because I get it. You are a person who gets a little bit more. I think you have the ability to discern, in part because of what you do, but all of these women out here don't have that. As a man who truly loves women and is a friend to women, a lot of y'all are talking out of your asses, and y'all think y'all doing something. Y'all think y'all doing something. We'll see if you are, but I'm just simply saying, if you are intentional about what you want, if you are clear about what you want, if you understand where you fit in that, and if you understand what's stopping you from getting it, if you do the work, then maybe you'll find somebody. But all this hocus pocus magic shit that y'all talking about is a dub for me. And she's a prime fucking example of that.
So I just got to hit you with this follow-up question, Nic, because she did say that she had multiple relationships or tried multiple dates with these God-fearing men.
I did.
And so if you're saying that she doesn't have the ability to discern, or may not have the ability to discern, then when does that ability kick in if her discernment already indicated that after having multiple experiences, how many experiences does she need before it's considered that's discernment?
Okay, cool. So imagine that those guys were black. So because she had 3 or 4 or 5 experiences with black men, in her ability to discern, she was only able to isolate it just in the context of these were religious men, right? Because it could have been other things. There are people who just are fucked up. They cloak it under a bunch of other shit. They could be people who are Black Lives Matter, but they stealing your money. It could be people. So my point is that I'm sorry, every religious person or a person who is expressive of their faith, who are open of their faith, are not the same niggas that she dated before. That's why, and she admitted, so this is not me saying this. When a person tells you they're triggered, right, and doesn't give you the follow-up maybe to say, oh, I'm triggered, but here's how I address that or whatever, and they just leave it hanging, I'm going to take her at her word because she was jubilant about saying, no, I'm admitting, I'm triggered. Right? And if you watch her and how she's moved and the things that's happened, I'm saying that, hey, there's a credible argument to be made that is not just people who are religious that's the problem, because we hear sometimes people use that for Black people, etc. Maybe it's just you. Maybe it's just you. That's it. You know what I'm saying? And her dating history with dating old boy, the little white dude at the FS1. So do we even know what her fucking dating history looks like? So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Him? That's him, sis? You claiming him? Come on, man. Stop playing.
He going so far.
You know what I'm saying?
White
They
Kang
gonna say
for 2
that I
weeks.
don't love Black women.
I
but
mean-
I'm sorry. I love and I like Black women. It's only up to you, SNM.
No, I think you answered the question. I think Tia wanted to jump in.
I mean, I think as the single person at the table, I think them niggas should get on Christian Mingle. If you're looking for something that you like, then go to something that was created for you, and you'll find what you like there, and you don't have to do all this pontificating unnecessarily. And also, a little bit of joke in this, right? Little jab. But even the Bible say many are called, but few are chosen, right? I don't have to accept you because you love the Lord and you think that that's enough to come and give me a standard of how I should. Who cares? Who cares? Just like every resume you put in and I put my skills up there, I have not been hired at every job I have applied at. Sorry, declined. We're going to swipe left on you and move next to what is a better fit for me. And I think that everybody has a right to say
It's
that.
like women who lead with I cook and I clean. Like, yeah, that's good. That's great. But what else? Like, and what else you have going for you? Same thing.
That's different than saying the fact that she led with that makes her a creep. Come on, man. Go ahead. Come on. When y'all watch this
I
on
didn't
the
call him a creep.
replay.
Dale used the
was
word creep.
Delvin said it was creepy.
Dale
he went to
used the
Catholic
word
school.
creep.
You got to give him a little grace.
Because I have
Not grace.
Wait, I went to Catholic school too. I forgot about that. I was in Catholic school for over 10 years. I ain't gonna say I'm a freak hoe
That's
because
what the
of it.
hoteps, what the hoteps be doing.
But the two sexually liberal people on the cast, we went to Catholic school.
Dang.
It may
You
say a
tell people
little
used to be a
something.
preacher, they
Right.
start counting you out. That's all right. Go ahead.
They say, why you count him out? He was a
Count
pew
me
pew
out,
baby.
man.
We got to put
You
the
cut
pew
him off
babies
you,
in there.
baby. It's discrimination.
I didn't even know what I thought he said.
Oh
pew
my
babies.
God.
I didn't even know
Wow.
he said pew. I was
pew
like,
baby
where are we
is a
going with this?
premature
That's why I said,
ejaculation.
I mean, are we
Sorry.
late in the show yet for this? I think
That's
we're late in the
it.
show to be
There it
talking
is.
about pubes and ejaculation. Can we
Sorry.
move on to
Sorry.
SNM, please?
So-
Let's move on. Let's move
Oh
on.
my God. So anyways, yeah, so our next topic, we talked about Derek Jackson and not representing who he was. He was fake, basically. And so we recently had another visit with Ace Metaphor. More precisely, Ace Metaphor was on the show with my favorite person, Cam Newton. And I say because he is well known for using women as a womb warmer. But anyways, outside Cam Newton. So Ace was on the show with Cam, and I believe that he was actually speaking to Cam on this issue because his conversation was about men don't really like women for real. They see them sexually. They only use them sexually, but outside of sex, they're actually not attracted to women. And to be honest, I thought Cam was so intensely listening because he was like, damn, this sounds like me. And so, but I could be wrong because I'm not in Cam's head, or his hat, but it's all good. And I'm just curious I'd like to start with the men on the panel in regards to, is it true? Are men just not sexually attracted? Are men just not emotionally attracted to women? Are they only sexually attracted to women and therefore they don't have the capability to accept her emotionally or spiritually? And this is why they ultimately do not like women. Is there some truth to his statement?
I was about to say, yes, please clean that up because when you say, so I was going to add the qualifier that, is it true that some men feel this way? I felt like it's a little general, so I don't want to get into my bag too early unless y'all want me to, but anybody want to speak to this?
We generalize
Oh,
the
okay,
hell out
cool.
of y'all.
That's cool. I'm
Just
down.
like we
I'm
do
down.
black women.
Okay,
So no, we
okay.
going for the all. Ain't no
Black men in
some.
general. Okay.
No niceties, S&M.
What do you
Put
mean,
their
you
ass on the
people?
ropes.
Oh, is that what you want? You want the ropes? Because I can give you the ropes me. Oh, you can give me the roast
You
meat.
people.
You don't
You
want the roast meat. Go
people.
ahead, Delvin, because
No, you
Go ahead, Delvin.
you want the roast meat? Oh, you want?
I love
Oh,
the
okay,
ropes
cool. You want the roast meat? Great. All right. So first of all, what news was he breaking? I mean, let's start there. There are some men who don't like women beyond their vaginas or sex, I think specifically. Wow. Breaking news. I think I saw a scroll on CNN. That's number one. Number two, and
First I've heard of it.
and no. Let that breathe for a second. Hey, some men only want or value women for sex. And
Sir, he said breathe, not echo. Breathe, not echo.
I was giving it effect.
Thank you, Jay. We're a team operation here.
I got you, dog.
Little echo.
I mean, because
What's
listen,
happening?
if you
Little ad
like,
libs.
that breathe that Jay did, like literally, right? So listen, I'm only saying, like, I've become a lot more cynical. I've accepted that I've become a lot more cynical and pragmatic in my older age, right? So when I say and, okay, if you're a woman, move around that. Okay, I get it. Maybe it's harder for you to discern because you really like him and you want to give him your whatever. And I get all that. Some guys are like really good at masking it. Are they really though? Are you paying attention? Right? Like the guys that he's talking about, is it really that hard to tell if you're really paying attention for a guy who does not like women at all? Is that what we're saying? Because yes, I do agree there are some guys like that. But when you're saying at all, like, oh, it's just only sex. Oh, he's just a narcissist. Oh, that's where I come up with these words, right? He's a psychopath. He's a sociopath. Like, y'all think some of these things are so good at being these things and pretending, oh my God, I never knew how icy and chill he was. He's like the guy from that movie, Graze. What's that bullshit? Come on, man. He wasn't that. The nigga was not that suave. He wasn't that good at lying to you this entire fucking time. So that's why I say, and so I'm not advocating these things. Right? Sure, I'm the guy that said, yes, it's important for women who can't have children. That doesn't mean I'm only making it about women's wombs, even though it's close to the vagina, right? So now there's two things that y'all are good for, right? But what I'm saying is that I do agree. No, I'm saying for the guy who might think that way. And let's separate the vagina from the womb because they're not the same thing. Let's be clear about that. One brings in life, is right. The other one may have more of a low level for some people sexual resonance, whereas the whole life spiritual thing is a completely different thing. We talk about bones. So I do want to separate that. But all I'm saying is that there's no new news here. Okay. And yes, there are some men who move that way, just like I'm not going to do that because SNL would probably bite my head off for doing that. But all I'm saying is that he didn't say anything new. And there are guys who are out here moving that way. And ladies, you should avoid them at all costs. But it's a crazy mixed up world. It's a dog eat dog world. You know what I'm saying? In the world of Snoop Dogg. And my cynical ass is not finna sit here and feel some type of way about the fact that, yes, a small percentage of men are moving like this, but way too many percentage of women are falling for it. And who's that on?
How do we know it's such a small percentage of men?
Because I know
mean,
that.
y'all men be talking like y'all be dating each other. Like y'all know who and how y'all present to
We
women
talk to
because y'all
each other.
don't. Y'all only know
We've
the game
evolved.
that y'all play. And some are playing chess and some are playing checkers. Yeah, y'all talk over the coochie. Y'all don't talk over the game because y'all be lying to each other because it's a game for y'all too. So I hate the fact that black men sit here and be like, oh, yeah, they be dogs. Yeah, they be charismatic enough to hustle 10 bitches. You know why? Because the ratios are so off between single women, especially when you're talking about if you're only dating between black men and black women. If it's one black man to every 14, 15, 16 black women, and we're all vying for the same thing. And let's just say he has a good job, a good car, and a house. Oh, you are a commodity. I have friends that have all those accolades, and I look at them and be like, damn, I see why bitches want you. But you know who they are? They're the most, because they want me the most, then I don't have to have them. I have options. I have had a bum nigga who looks good, was dropping off something nice, had a good job, but was a piece of shit ass dude. Literally tell me that if you leave me, I have other options just as good as you, and you won't have options as good as me. And I had to sit back and be like, there might be some truth to that, right? So yeah, all of y'all niggas have and come with some kind of game. Now, And I ain't gonna talk about the marrieds and the pastors and all those because they come with some game too.
I agree with some of what y'all said. I agree with a lot of what y'all said, right? I don't think, I don't know how many doggish men there are out there. You know what I'm saying? But I do know that doggish men can't evolve. You know what I'm saying? Bam, you're looking at way, right? I'm my only client, I'm the president. So, just because, so I do think the numbers of men that are not moving this way could be greater than we know. However, my real concern is that I don't want to see anybody get mischaracterized as one of these guys who's moving like that only sees women for their, vagina. Like, I appreciate Nick, who appreciates the inside womb and the outside vagina of a woman, both inside and outside. He appreciates the wholeness. You know what I'm saying? I'm just playing. But anyway, so I think, though, the reason why I spoke of it that way is because I think it's the way femininity is being presented. Right? I think it's the marketing. I think it's the branding. It's the packaging. I think people like the product. You know what I'm saying? I think the product has some usages, but I think it comes with a lot of other stuff we're not really looking for right now in a marketer in our households. And I think that's why they're only getting, my grandson, I'm going to say this, I'm going to land. My grandson, I've been finding little Lunchables all over the place, right? Outside in the yard by the pool, little Lunchable boxes, the pizza ones, right? It's the whole pizza in there. Now, I think the pizza one's nasty, but I'll get to my point. The point is, I found like 3 or 4 of them. This is not an accident. So I started looking. I asked him, I said, man, what's going on? Turns out he's just taking the Capri Sun and the candy. Ma'am, ladies, if you out there serving these dudes cold pizza ass coochie, right? Then don't blame us for taking the Capri Sun and the candy. You know what I'm saying? If all you got is a cold pizza personality, don't blame us for just getting our Capri Sun and candy and booking it. I said my piece and I hush.
That's why I'm single. Y'all don't deserve me.
Go, Devin, my bad.
No, listen. Yeah, of course. There's some guys, but there's some of anything. You know what the hell does that even mean? I mean, what happens is when the girl ears get on and women hear this, he may have said some men don't like women for real. What gets heard with the girl ears is men don't like women beyond sex. So the nuance gets completely cut out, and then that's where the conversation goes sideways. And I don't think it's majority. There may be some. I don't think it's 49 or 48% of men. It damn sure ain't 51 or 52. We can, I think we can kind of find the middle ground in there, right? So there is a percentage of men. It's not even a plurality, right? But what happens, don't try to lump us all in there. But the problem with the women have is they want like me and Nick and Jay to go get those guys to like them for more than just their vagina. Like, y'all need to hold them accountable and get them together. I'm like, why we over here chilling? Why we gotta hope that they some grown ass men? Don't go and talk to them. They're just mad because they got 2 or 3 degrees and they're getting finessed out of their vagina by guys that don't like women. That's a you problem, ladies.
Yes.
So I heard all of this, and so before I provide my perspective, I just want to ask this. So what do you guys think about the red pill movement then, and the fact that the red pill movement is so pronounced? If you honestly feel like it's a small majority or a small percentage of men who are moving this way. So what do you think about, or how do you even explain the red pill movement then?
I think that's a larger issue. That's a reaction to feminism in general. Those guys are in that camp a little bit, but I don't think that's a driving of the red pill movement because we don't like women, and that's the base of it. Now that premise, I just flat out reject.
Yeah, and I'll just kind of briefly say that much like what Jay was saying about the marketing problem on that side, it's like because people are pointing out certain things, it's automatically we don't like. I think we got to be able to separate between criticizing, whether it be that automatically means you don't like something. I mean, I think honestly, a lot of people like something that they criticize. So I don't think that it's a matter of the red pill movement or whatever. I think it's kind of blown out of proportion. But I certainly do think I'm going to bounce past it to you because I want to be more toxic and go back to something that T is at. So go ahead, SNM, before let me.
See, now I'm concerned.
How do we know, girl? I'm going to tell you how we know.
Because I actually had another question that I had.
Yay.
And so the next question, so that was just the first part of the clip. The second part of the clip actually talked about finding a capable wife and how women end up being dependents versus a partner because the man was only looking at her sexually versus liking her emotionally and physically, right? I mean, emotionally and spiritually. And so I want to know in regards to that piece, as far as finding that partner, that capable partner, what do you guys think about that aspect of it when you look, if all you see is the vajayjay and men only want them for sex, does that hinder their ability to find a capable partner, or are they really just looking for that dependent?
That sounds good what he was saying, right? And honestly, in my own lived reflection, I do give a lot of credit to my wife in terms of who I am today. But not everybody's built like that. For some people, all they need is their wife to fit a particular function and form in their lives. Like, that's not for everybody. So yes, in the most Disney progressive way where both people are having all this value and all this other stuff, yada, yada, yada. But for that guy, maybe he doesn't see a certain utility beyond that. And if it works for both of those people, I ain't tripping off of that.
A man needs a wife to partner with him to accomplish his ambition in life, his great dream, whatever that is, right? Now, she can't help him partner in his dream if she doesn't understand his dream, right? But that's a whole nother thing. It just to this point, though, I mean,
yeah, I'm going to shoot back at you too, Jay. I'm about to say that's bullshit
What?
too, Jay.
Why? Because what I'm saying, no, listen to me. If his dream is to come home every day to a warm dinner and a house that's clean, that's his ambition in life, right? Then he goes to find a woman and she said, I cook, I clean, this is what I do. It can be happily matched and he can be fine is what I'm saying. But I'm saying he needs to know his ambition and she needs to be able to understand his ambition or they're not going to be able to partner. If he's low ambition, that's cool. If he's high ambition, then she needs to deal with that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I think the context of what SNM was saying, though, was this idea that people will say, and I'm not opposed to it because that's my own reflection. Hey, finding a wife will help you do X, Y, and Z, right? It's a benefit in all these different ways. I don't necessarily push back against that. But the role that wife plays doesn't have to be your business counselor. Doesn't have to be like your psychologist. We just talked about the whole thing about a woman not being your everything. Right? So it just makes complete sense that, hey, you know what? Maybe she is just the woman that I trust to be the wife in terms of taking care of the home and taking care of my kids. And we fuck. Like, who's to decide that that's like, oh my God, that's all you want me for? If it works for both of them, I'm not finna tell a man that he needs to find a wife to be his partner because he can't do X, Y, and Z without her. I'm not gonna do that. I may champion it, but I'm not gonna tell him he needs that for that. He may have his own purpose for that. That's all I'm saying.
Devin, you look like you chomping at the bit to say something.
No, actually, I don't disagree with my good brother Nick at all. I think, depending on the guy's needs, that might work for him, and that's okay. It's not for me to say, oh, well, your wife should be your consigliere and your prayer warrior and your this and your that, your sparring partner. Hey, listen, I may just really need you because I want you to cook amazing spaghetti dinners and send me, nudes every hour on the hour. Like, okay, that's you can't complain. You can't complain when she's not an Excel spreadsheet wizard because that's not what she signed up for.
Exactly.
That's not the utility you put her in
That's not
place.
what she good at, huh?
Right, you just wanted that box and maybe that cleaning.
So that's what you got. That's what you get.
That might have been all you needed.
SNM, you're going to answer this damn question because I want to shoot back into here and it's like, you're over here dilly-dallying and I'm trying to make space for you. You're talking about how do we know? What you mean we're men? How do we know? Go ahead. Before let me host it myself.
Okay, so let me answer the question.
Go ahead.
Let me answer the question super quick so you get your shot back. So this is what I'm going to say. I actually thought that this was great. I already knew this, that some men already wanted women just for the box because they lead with that. That's the way men are built. That's the way they're conditioned from the time they were a young buck running around and watching their older brothers and fathers and uncles and so forth do what they do. So they're already conditioned to only want the boxes. They're already conditioned to believe that they deserve the box. And then they're conditioned to believe that and operate with women in that box itself, i.e. keep us in that box for some men. Now, what I will say is that what I did appreciate about this conversation was that he put it in simple speak because sometimes men and women don't understand simple speak. right? They don't understand they don't make the necessary connection between they're like, oh, men don't like us, right? Or I know you guys seen this on social media. As soon as a man act like he don't like you, the first thing they say, oh, it's because he batting for the other team. Or they say, oh, he's gay, or whatever the case may be, without recognizing, no, he's sexually attracted. He just don't like spending time with you. He just don't like being with you because he don't like being around women. Women sound like cattiness in his ears or something like that. So he'll go for the box before he go with that emotional attachment and so forth. And so I thought that was actually a pretty good way to explain in simple speak, i.e. keep it simple, stupid, so that folks would have a better understanding and not just keep making these generic catchphrases of, oh, he must be gay. Oh, he must be banned for the other team, without recognizing the nuances of it and understanding the psychology behind it. And so I say kudos to him for doing it. Y'all was like, oh, and. And so it's like, well, no. And he's explaining something that while y'all may recognize, other people, especially the people dating now, may not recognize and know the root of this. And that's what I appreciate.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? Because y'all women act like, as men, especially those of us who are privileged to move a certain type of way of being in the company of other men who have had experiences. You ask us, how do we know? How would we not know? I get that y'all think y'all have an intimate experience, and that's true, because that's a whole different vibe. And yes, men are not always being honest in certain ways to other men in regards to what's going on. But for those people who are only basing their information off of what people say, shame on them. That's not what I'm basing my information on, right? I'm basing my information on, I've seen guys pretend that they have no feelings whatsoever, and then like the minute that something happens and it's clear they got feelings. You know why? Because as much as they're saying one thing out of their mouths, their actions are saying something different, right? Men will pretend. We have been conditioned to pretend like we don't care to a certain extent. And in fact, sometimes when we show that we care, maybe it's seen as a weakness, or some of y'all don't like that, or it's not as attractive, but it doesn't mean that men don't care. This goes back to what I was saying before about discernment to a certain extent. You know what I hear a lot of times when you brought the whole red pill thing? I hear guys hurt. These niggas are hurt. You think people are hurt in situations that they don't care about? You think that's what happens? No. Like, these people are hurt for situations that they actually do care about. And they don't know, some of them, maybe not all, but a lot of them just don't know how to articulate their hurt or how to process their hurt. It's no different than what I was saying about Jordan Taylor in terms of her being triggered. These guys, some of them, many of them, and men, women or whatever, are having bad experiences. So what I hear from them is hurt. If you just listen to them for face value, then yes, maybe you'll assume that, oh, they don't like women. No, they've been hurt by women. Many of them have. Right? And maybe because of that, they may have a dislike for women. But at the core of it, if they had a chance to sniff or to be in the presence of, or maybe get a little, their whole dispositions would change. You dig what I'm saying? People talk a lot of shit when they're not getting what it is that they feel that they want. So that's why I say I do not believe it's a large number of men who don't like women for real. There's a large number of men who are not capable of communicating their life for women. There's a whole bunch of men who have been stifled or who've been taught to kind of bottle their emotions. There's a whole bunch of men who are hurt and are displacing their hurt for what their mama did to them, to the women that they're dealing with in their lives. But that does not mean that there isn't some genuine affection and connection for these men. It does not mean that they're gay, right? And it's funny because if we're going to transition to our next story, right, about Paul Pierce, right, in regards to what he was talking about marriage being only for old people, right? But in the previous topic, he was also somebody who said, for relationships, the only utility he saw was sex, right? And when I heard him say that, you know what I heard? I heard nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many different ways. A nigga who just did not see certain things growing up. A nigga who got money really quickly. A nigga who saw, maybe who felt like he was used for money and was not able to cultivate real relationships with real people. So in the world that he lives in, he's going to characterize and make people into caricatures. So that's how it shows up. But even underneath that hurt, I can still see it for what it is. You know what I'm saying? Now, for him, he's a little older and maybe past the point of problem of healing. Maybe, I don't know, because he don't sound like somebody who want to heal. But he is an old nigga, right? Or he's about to be an older nigga. So maybe marriage is going to be in his future. But Paul Pierce says, nah, for right now, I'm good on that. Because marriage is only for poor people and old people. Again, now, he also said his mom was not married until she was the age of 70. Which means that for him, he grew up in a household that he maybe didn't see that, right? You see what, you know what I'm saying? So what are y'all thoughts in regards to, do y'all think, number one, Paul Pierce is like Jordan Taylor, still need to work through some of his triggers and hurt, but that's not the real question. Do you think marriage is only for poor people and old people? What are y'all thoughts on that?
I mean, I understand the argument. And the argument being, people say you should get married because you get a tax benefit, or you should get married so you don't die alone, right? If you have NBA player money and you've managed it right, then you don't have to worry about the tax benefits. You be smart with your money. If you pay for like long-term care, you probably don't have to worry about dying alone either. There'll be a nurse there. You know what I mean? So he's got a point. He probably does not need it. If he's not trying to have kids, honestly, if you're not trying to make a family, then you can probably get through life without being married. You probably could. You can probably have partners and do some other things and be successful in business or whatever and not be married. But if you're trying to build a family, then whether you're young or old, I don't know, that seed be dusty, but do what you gotta do. You know what I'm saying? Then yeah, I think that's the right thing. I hope I answered the question. I was gonna say something petty about Paul Pierce being stabbed in the back by love, but it seemed a little too soon, a little too on the nose.
Too soon?
So,
that was 20 years ago.
Well, I don't know. For Paul, it was just like yesterday. So anyway, go ahead.
That's why he got the hurt Negro syndrome. Is that where that place of hurt is coming from?
Hurting people hurt people. Hurting people. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm wrong.
I'll jump in and just say this. I think that a fool was speaking. And when fools speak, people tend to listen for some strange reason because they have money and because they're in a position where they're determined to be high value. And so therefore, a young fool grows up to be a middle-aged fool that grows up to be an old-ass fool. And so to me, he's on the fool's track. And I think he's going to self-correct the fool's track once he's old as hell. And he realized that he might need a nurse with a purse or a hospice wife, because at that point, he's like, oh, shit, I'm all by myself and no one likes me. I don't even like me. And so I think that at some point, he's going to come and say, oh, I might have been wrong. I'm actually glad that he's had his mother as an example. I actually went to a wedding of somebody who was 72 and 75. And I was like, wow, I love this. This old people love, right? And it's great to see them finding each other. And it turns out they kind of got married, though, because they needed each other to take care of each other because their kids wasn't really taking care of each other or taking care of them. And so then it became a necessity. So I think he's wrong. I actually believe that poor people can get married and should be married simply because they can build together. So we always talk about building legacies and so forth, right? And if we can't allow that to happen at a young age, then I say this because I got married young. I ain't gonna lie. I was 21 and my husband was 23.
But
so I might be talking from
too,
a position of bias, right?
But y'all was still poor though, right?
Well, we were in college.
I mean, yeah.
And so
You still qualify.
Exactly. That's why I said I may be talking from a position of biasness, right? Yeah. And now I'm like, look at me now. Fuck you, Paul Pierce. And so, anyways, maybe not say it that way. Let me be nicer. With that being as nice as I can possibly say, sir, you need to go to that place of hurt and you need to grab it, hold it, embrace it, and then let it go. Like Frozen, let it go. And so that you can grow and hopefully grow old with someone who you actually like. Because to be honest, you sound like you don't like women. And if I have to say this, I would be on the fan of you might be gay, but that'll be wrong. But that would be wrong because I don't know. And that would be wrong to say that. And so I'm going to give you the benefit of doubt, Paul. May you be blessed.
Not have a blessed day.
What's happening? What say you to you then?
You know what? Coincidentally, I actually understand what he's saying. As a single person, a single parent, right? I was married, but divorced and still very young, still very young in a small time frame. I was married to a partner who didn't like to work, but that's another story. But nonetheless, I understand that when I was single and a parent, that I remember having these moments like, if I was married, I wouldn't be struggling this way, right? If I had a partner, then this little $20 that I need wouldn't be so hard to get. The small things would be easier with somebody else. So I understand that he's not wrong. Does it make it a negative because that's true? Like, no, we live in a world where gas in California is $6.19. I'd rather share that with somebody than be on my own trying to kick down $150 a week in my gas tank, right? Like, life is easier when you have a partner to share and build and grow with. And I think that's the nigga in him that misses out on that. I also think that he's not wrong either about being 70 or, the older you get. Statistics show that the primary number of people in nursing homes are men and they're single. And so if you look at that, yeah, you're right. When you've tricked and kicked it and partied your whole life, or just decided not to be involved and have a wife or have kids, that's cool. But when you get to 70, you're going to want someone to wipe your ass and say good morning to you. And I think that goes for men and women. Right. So I think that he's not wrong, but I think the way he shapes it as if marriage is not necessary outside of that is just him being triggered and having his own trauma that he needs to deal with. So I kind of agree and don't at the same time.
I don't think marriage is for poor people. It's definitely the best way for people to accumulate wealth, versus, like in his case with athletes, you get your money up front and then, you play ball for a couple of years. Hopefully you're responsible with it. And, you know, hopefully it's a bunch of baby mamas don't take it all from you, if you're lucky. So it's the best way for people to not be poor for most people. And the second part is, I think he kind of misses out on is, I think like 86, 87% of millionaires are married. So, and those are not talking about athletes, those are like business people, professionals. So those guys probably know something Paul Pierce doesn't know. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. Now, in his case, yeah, it probably does make sense. Listen, I've already got all my bread. I'm already up. I don't plan on having kids. Marriage just doesn't make sense. You can be the girlfriend. We can go to the Oscars. We can go to the ESPYs. Just don't have any males in here, because then we get to that whole common law thing and then you're fucking up the bag. So you go stay over there. I'll buy you a place. Just don't have anything sent here from Amazon. Right. So in his case, I get, and it makes sense for him, but for most people, I don't think that's the case. And to the older people point, I think, listen, it's never too late for love. I just went to a wedding last week. I think they're both in their early 60s. They were both widowed and they found love, and they're going to rock out together for as much time as they have left. So I think that's cool too. Like I said, you don't want to be in the nursing home alone by yourself and crashing out. So.
First of all, we got to stop lying to the American people, okay? Because unfortunately, a lot of people aren't building wealth in marriage, right? I know that that's a selling point, and I do get that. But I loved how Delvin ended it by saying to not be broke. So it doesn't have to be building wealth. It could just be to help you stave off inflation. It could be to not be broke, right?
That's
now,
positive.
If you have financial literacy and the tools, the wherewithal, the financial discipline, then yes, you can get together and build wealth. You guys get together and get a plan. But like when I hear numbers like how many percentage of Americans don't have $1,000 in their bank account for an emergency, that tells me that, and many of them are married too, so not just single people, that tells me that we're not really building a lot of wealth. So I think we just got to be a little bit more honest, right, about that part, right? So I want to say that, right? Now, I think what's implicit here to me is that if I am a rich man of a certain age and status, that maybe marriage is not for him, right? Or for me. And I'm not going to disagree with that. That may sound kind of fucked up to say to a certain extent, but there are legitimately ways that I could move if I want companionship, right? Without putting my assets at risk. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know that there's prenups and all that, but we've also seen a history where people find a way to get through those or make your life a little bit more. So if you're able, with power and prestige, to be able to have a concubine or a woman who's willing to serve in that role, if you're willing to take care of her. I mean, I know we're not going to talk about Diddy, even though the case is still starting, but there's a lot of women like, what's the old girl, the rapper, who was cool with just being taken care of and kind of moving around. There's probably going to be women who are cool with just kind of being your main thing without you having to get a ring thing. You dig what I'm saying? So I get why certain men, especially I guess even Paul Pierce, I'm not exactly sure about his whole situation, but if he got a couple kids out there, he's not looking to have a family necessarily. He's apparently having the best time of his life. So for him, marriage don't make sense. Absolutely. So I can't get mad from his vantage point of what he's saying. And like I said, he's the one that also didn't see his mom getting married till 70. So in his mind, maybe the utility only starts or stops there because that's what he's seeing. So I'm not mad at his vantage point. And I also think there's a lot of truth to what he's saying from men, because I've heard guys concerned about it. The problem is, for a lot of y'all niggas who don't got the financial resources to be worried about somebody taking half, y'all bringing up this argument doesn't really hold any fucking weight. You dig what I'm saying? So check this out. If you, while you're poor, because I agree with him there, while you're poor, if you build with the sister and then together y'all come up and make millions, you'll probably feel less bad about giving her half. Right? But if you make it before you met her, I'm not mad at your position. But a lot of y'all niggas ain't there yet. So yes, it makes sense. So I do agree with him about the poor people thing. 1,000% because if I'm rich and I'm single and able to have what I want, why the fuck would I do that? We got to be honest, y'all, because if we're not honest, people gonna think we out here pushing marriage on some bullshit, right? So we got to be honest enough to say that from a man's position, if he is privileged financially, then there are some pitfalls to him saying, "I do. Hey, I'm gonna put you on my life, on my life insurance. I'm gonna make sure you're straight." I mean, there's some niggas out here just dropping bags. Hey, here's your little something. Matter of fact, give me the Bill Belichick plan. Because apparently Bill Belichick is already 73. So the same shit y'all talking about, you think we get married again? No. He got him a 24-year-old multi-purpose Swiss Army knife. Okay? Shorty take pictures. You know what I'm saying? She probably, book his meal, his plane. She's a fucking PR person. And yes, she's probably wiping his ass. And he has enough money to do that. So not all old people should be getting married. You dig what I'm saying? Now, if you're a poor old person, so guess what? Poor people, poor old people should definitely get married. Okay? Definitely 1,000%. You know what I'm saying? Find somebody that you can just, just be okay with for a little bit until you work through your plan. You got a 10-year plan, you have a 10-year marriage. Okay? You know what I'm saying? So stop playing, man. Yes, he's telling the truth, but y'all don't like the messenger, and I agree. He's not the greatest messenger, but there's a lot of truth in what he's saying, and it's okay for men to acknowledge that, especially in certain situations. And lastly, there are some people who've already been married. If I've already been married, had a family, right? And so now I'm a little bit in my early 50s, and yeah, I want commitment. Yeah, I want a relationship, but what is the point of doing all that? Most of the time, it might be to placate her, but if you got some resources, my brother, I would just make sure you do your due diligence to make sure that she don't stick you for your papers. You know what I'm saying? Damn, why she had to stick you for your papers?
So I'm going to walk back a small portion of my statement because you know what? I didn't take in consideration that his financial means may be the reason why he's on Jezebel.com, right? Because it was just easier. It was more convenient for him. And it's no strings attached, right? Or so he thinks until the Shannon Sharp situation come up from OnlyFans. And next thing you know, clapping them cheeks for $25,000 a piece is now $50 million. But in the interim, now, you know what? So I apologize because you're right in regards to his financial stance and his financial capability that it may not make sense for him or people in the same position with his particular mindset to have a relationship or be married. So I will acknowledge that. I will walk that point.
And in an effort to extend an olive branch, I would just say if a woman out there is financially well-to-do, she also should protect herself, right? If that guy heard the top of the show and decided to buy Ebony K some flowers and gifts for Mother's Day and was able to, work his way into her heart, I would advise Ebony K, girl, get you a prenup, protect yourself. Okay, because you have assets. So it's not just a man-woman thing, but I guess that the expectations of man's a protector and a provider. So a lot of times those guys are the ones who are making more money. And so it makes sense for them to protect themselves. But I do actually think, and SNM, I'm gonna push back on you too. A lot of times young people are poor people. I don't think he was excluding young people, right? Because I'm a big proponent for people to get married earlier. As I get it, the shift is moving later. But if it's possible, if we could create healthy human beings a little bit sooner who are less traumatized, then maybe they could navigate life and find each other at an earlier point in life. Because there are some people who got married relatively young, maybe had a 15, 20-year marriage. Even if it didn't work out, they still had the family, they still had the experiences. And then guess what? They're still our age. Like, I'm outside. You know what I'm saying? My old ass got a 3-year-old. I'm inside. So it's like, you got to pick your poison a little bit. So I get it. Sometimes people already have the experience. They've already rid the ride or rode the ride, right? They're like, I'm good, man. You know what I mean?
So any final thoughts on this before I jump into the next protector?
Keep shooting.
I got one. I got a brief one. And that is, this is a little free game, okay? America is a corporation. The world is kind of a corporate entity in how it does business and transactions or whatever. So if you're not a business, right? You don't have plans to make a business. You're not an entrepreneur. You don't have some invention or some innovation. Then marriage should probably be your business, and that should probably be how you look at it. And y'all should work that thing. So yeah, poor people, old people, broke people, whatever.
And Oprah, you don't need to protect yourself from me. I got you.
Not the Oprah.
You don't need a prenup, Oprah.
My brother ate a high.
I was like, you might have to ask, what's his name, to step out the way.
Devin ain't going nowhere.
That's it. Facts.
He ain't
Dorian
Going
Gale.
outside.
Been singing all
nowhere.
day.
He ain't going nowhere.
Got to put it out there.
He can't be stopped now.
Bad boy
It
for
is
life.
Stedman for life.
I support you shooting your shot, but as we talk about standing on business, we do have a story of a father who was standing on business. Supposedly, I'm gonna say allegedly, although I'm not quite sure how alleged it is because he walked into that courtroom proud of his behavior and his actions. And so basically, we have a father. His name, by the way, is Rodney Hinton Jr. And he is being charged with aggravated murder for killing a sheriff deputy with a car after another sheriff deputy killed his son. And so basically, just to set the story up a little bit, basically, they claimed that his son was in some type of car. They was in a car chase. They jumped out of the vehicle. Apparently, they said that the son had a gun. You can hear on the video that they said gun, and then they shot the son and killed him. And so the video is unclear as far as if there is a gun or not present. But what is clear is that his son is unfortunately deceased on the ground. And so Rodney apparently had a huge breakdown in the office while they're showing him the video. And the very next day, he so happened to be driving through an intersection that was being controlled with a sheriff deputy, and he ran over the sheriff deputy. And later, he was arrested. He shows up in court. And he's, like I said, standing on business in regards to his son. And the cops are there. They're looking to intimidate him, in my personal opinion, because it was 30 deep. But it also could be showing that, hey, we're here to show support because we lost a life on our side as well. And I'm interested in knowing, do you guys feel like this was justified behavior or not?
I recognize his anger. And I've been watching what's been happening with Black America as a personal group in Mississippi first, right? I'm no stranger to racism and, oppressive structures or whatever. That being said, I understand the frustration that we are feeling as a people, but it's a setup. And what he did was, I understand that he was mad, and I hope he claims insanity, because it's an insane approach. It doesn't really work out. There's no long game here. Whatever guns that people think they have, if they're going to go to war with the police, which is a dumb idea. I don't advocate that at all. Nobody should be going at war with the police. The solution, let me go and give you the solution before I get on my bag. Solution is for us to police our own neighborhoods. Get more Black police officers from the neighborhood to police their neighborhood, and we won't have this problem. Right. Now, let me put that to the side. I understand he lost his child. If something happened with one of my kids or my grandkids, man, and they're not even my grandkids by blood, I'd be livid, right? But let's play this out. It's not a solution for us because meanwhile, President Trump is making it so that police officers are going to get free legal representation for excessive violence. Excessive force and those kind of lawsuits or whatever. There is a war that someone is trying to brew here, and we will not come out on top if we try to fight against that structure in that way. All right, whatever guns we got, they got bigger guns. And right now, the laws are being put in place that if it even looks like we're going to war as a people, it's going to be problematic for us all over. And people are just going to go, they're going to treat us like Palestinians in Gaza. Y'all better stop playing.
Can I jump in right there? Because I think, okay. And because of that, I understand. Right? I understand why he moved the way he moved, because there really isn't a right response to having your son killed unjustly. There's not a good answer or a good way to respond or to take it when you find out how he was treated, and you have to watch it on camera, and the world is going to see it. And Trump is in office and changing laws and making it so you have no rights, and you can't fight a police force and their legal team because you are poor. And you are. And all these, after all these years that we've experienced all the injustices in America, I understand why some people would take an eye for an eye. Do I believe what you're saying is true? Yeah, it matters not in the long scheme, just like we can talk about if voting matters or not, right? Because what we would all say that one vote may or may not matter. One person being a martyr may or may not matter, in the grand scheme of things. But do I understand the pain that he's feeling after watching Trayvon and Tamir and Breonna and all of these other children be killed senselessly without any recourse. And maybe he felt like the sacrifice was enough. Like, my life is nothing without my son. And because of that, I'll take yours too. I can't validate that because I don't believe in the eye for an eye. But if it was my child, who knows what I would think and feel. So I think that we're just tired. And out of desperation to have an answer, we'll create one. And that's when you get people doing something less vigilante like this.
So I know a lot of times on this here, program, I might come across as a contrarian, maybe, right? But a lot of times I try to understand where the person is coming from, because like my opinion oftentimes doesn't really matter. Just because I have an opinion about it, I'm telling you how I look at things, right? Like, oh, this could happen. I'm having fun. We're talking our talk, right? But at the end of the day, I feel like for me, I get more out of understanding what people are going through than trying to condemn them necessarily or trying to judge whether or not their actions is some type of broad statement of a solution. Right. I don't find value necessarily just in stopping there for me, because it really ain't got nothing to do with me necessarily. Right. But can I understand, like, to what Tia was talking about, the pain and the angst and the issues that Black people are dealing with? Is there a legitimate tipping point, for example, right? Is it possible that we as Black people can have a tipping point? This is not the first time that we've seen recently within the past couple of years where vigilantism to a certain extent took shots literally at the police. This, especially around some of the Black Lives Matter brouhahas that happened in Dallas, for example. Then there was also the situation, if I believe correctly, Chris Joyner out of California, who did something with police officers. So I guess maybe we're seeing this a little bit more, and maybe, I'm not saying this is going to start a whole wave, but I do think there's legitimate concerns on whether or not after you do a certain thing to a group of people, whether or not they're just going to have enough. Now, whether or not we don't think as Black people, we should let them know how much of enough we've had, and whether or not we think that's going to cause anything to change, right? That remains to be seen. But civil unrest has been one of the main tools that we've used in order to spark change. And so I get. And guess what? Some of those people who were in line to spark change did make sacrifices. Some of them, their lives, right? And some of them, just unfortunately made their careers or other paths and means. So I'm not saying that this guy is any of those things, right? What I completely understand is that guy was a father who got called into a police station and was showed a video and told a story, right? And that father, for whatever reason, I feel like, is it credible for me to believe that it was clear that his son was in the wrong? Would he have still reacted the way that he did just because, oh my God, all cops are bad? I don't know that, right? Because I would think a sane person might have seen something that triggered, there goes that word again, in terms of response, and that person doesn't have the control necessary in regards to how to process that response in real time. I'm not saying that's because I'm not a psychologist, but I am speaking to those the mental health piece, because if the law creates a carve out for people to disconnect mentally because of health or whatever, right, to give them a loophole, I'm not saying it's a loophole, I'm just kind of using layman's language here, then why wouldn't this guy potentially be someone who did have a break? Like, we have this thing, but we just laugh it off like it's not a thing that should be and could be deployed in the defense of someone who can credibly say that they had a meltdown. This brother was driving down the street, if I understood correctly, and they just turned up the gas and just went ham, right? And that can happen in a matter of seconds, right? In terms of a person kind of breaking. So what I'm saying is, I'm not trying to justify anything, right? If we want to be clear, I think what he did was absolutely wrong, because number one, if it's going to be eye for the eye, take the right eye. Let's be 100%. I mean, not the right left. I mean, the person who did what they did, if you're going to be on some vigilante shit. I mean, I seen John Wick, right? That's number one. So I don't agree with none of that shit, right? That was fucked up. Number two, even if he was targeting the right person or whatever, okay, that's still fucked up. Right? I mean, hopefully you at least try to let justice take its recourse first before you figure, hey, man. But here's where I go back to the mental health piece, because we're assuming that he was thinking of his right mind. Who wants to spend the rest of their lives in prison? Who? You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to give some grace in regards to maybe there was some other issues there, because his lawyer tried to make the case that the brother just had a separation from his wits about him. And so therefore, I think we should let it play out. But it's sad, though, because even if that was the case here, how would we feel about that? Right? Because if we're on the other side and we're the person's victimized by the thing, we wouldn't give a fuck whether or not he was able to break down or whatever, right? That family don't give a fuck that his son died at the hands of police officers, right? Because that wasn't him. You know what I'm saying? So now you got multiple people being hurt in a situation, and I don't even really know what the solution is. So that's why when we talk about solutions, well, if we got some, why we ain't deploying them? You know what I'm saying? Like, we got all these solutions until we don't. You know what I'm saying? And so sometimes those of us who are not in the position to do what he did, I'm not going to speak on it that way, because I wouldn't do it. But I damn sure am not going to condemn him, especially if I can understand why he fucking did it, outside of saying the fact that he was wrong because of what I said before. So, I mean, it's a tough situation. And it's funny because I was not trying to be funny, but if in the body cam, because you guys mentioned it before, you're not able to see what happens, then it's like this whole, he got a gun. That's some bullshit at any cop. I'm not saying that there's any justification, because even if his son was done dirty or whatever, it's not a justification for what he did. Unless it was the right person, because then you could say, hey, man, I saw him and I went. But now for just to be a random person, it's going to be hard to prove. I'm just saying, we as Black people know that we can understand what he's going through, especially if it's your kid. Jay, you mentioned if it was you, bro. I don't even like saying things like that, because I can't tell you what I would do if it was me. So how would I be hypocritical to be like, oh, I would never do what he did, and then I found myself in a position where I'm on the other side. And I can't tell you that I would not be if it was my one and only son that it took me all this time to motherfucking create. You play about my nigga. You know what I'm saying? That's why there's a part of me that resonates with what he went through, because I'm not saying I would do it. I'm not justifying it, but come on, man. Come on, man.
I did not finish the statement, but I guarantee I would not run down a stranger.
Okay. I mean, I hear you. I mean, I hear you.
Yeah.
You're going to be on the right person.
Oh, I'm going to be very direct and pointed and precise. Yeah.
And this is the disclaimer at the top.
Yeah, this is entertainment purposes.
This
folks.
is entertainment purposes
Right,
only.
we
There are
just
no
joking.
professions on this.
That's right. These jokes.
Go ahead, Delvin.
Yeah. I think it's an unfortunate crash out, as the kids call it. You know, I don't think there's any other thing you can call it really other than a psychological break. I think a sane person, to Nic's point, it wouldn't say, I'm going to run this guy down and, spend the rest of my life in prison. That doesn't help the situation at all. And I don't think anybody wants to live in a world with, rampant vigilantism like Gotham or some weird shit like that. So, that's the only, I thought about, that's the only thing you can kind of ascribe it to. And that's really kind of the only defense he has at this point. There's no other way to, to spin it or try to frame it. That this is literally the only framing mechanism you have. And it's unfortunately, it's the one that kind of fits and that kind of neatly explains it. But he's gotten nowhere else to go. And again, there's nothing I would do. There's nothing I would advise anybody else to do. Right. It's even on my own behalf. Like, don't crash out on my behalf. Just let justice play out, and we've seen it play out. Like in in the George Floyd case, that played itself out in the legal system, and it ended up where it ended up at. But crashing out is definitely not the answer. It doesn't help anybody.
Hey, real quick, I want to say this real quick, SNM, because I feel like Deborah was being sneaky funny with crashing out. I mean, I'm sorry,
too soon. You know what? I just subconsciously used that, and I didn't even think about it. It's definitely too soon to call it a crash out.
I'm sorry, and I just want to also make note that I don't believe that Mr. Hinton Jr. had a record. So it wasn't like he has a history or anything in terms of committing any type of crime. Just want to kind of submit that to the record as well. But go ahead, SNM.
So I'm going to represent the internet in this case. And I'm going to say a couple of things that may be controversial. And so there are some people who say about damn time. Because the reason why they're saying this, as Nic mentioned earlier, there are other incidents of where someone took it upon their own to basically attack cops and whatnot. But they're saying about damn time because they're saying, how much can we take? How many times do we have to deal with the killing of an unarmed or armed Black person, particularly a young person, considering that they have no problem taking armed white men into custody, armed white boys into custody, and by all accounts, the boy was actually running away and they claimed he turned around. Now, here's my issue with my personal issue with the story in regards to the gun. We've seen time and time again where they fabricated evidence. We've seen time and time again where they fabricated or they'll yell gun to justify something. And what caused concern was when I believe it's the sheriff, when he said, hey, he turned around. We're not going to wait to see if there's an actual gun. He made this statement. And I was like, wait, what? And so they already and I understand because my husband was a police officer in our previous life as well, right? And so he's one of those things like he's not going to wait too long, but damn, could he got a second? Like if he just turned around, how did you know it was a gun? And I understand that you want to go home to your family too, right? I understand that. And so I understand the fear and the adrenaline that's running through you as you're chasing somebody that's running away from you. And so but their issue is that we've seen time and time again. So you talked about George Floyd. He's one of many one of many, but one who actually got justice, so to speak, right? Whereas there's so many who didn't get justice because they was able to walk away because they claimed they saw a gun and then there was no gun on site, or they're like, oh, there was a knife, or there was this, or it was that. But they got to say, I feared for my life, and that was enough for that person to walk away. And I think in this father's mind, he did have a mental break, because to be honest, I don't understand why he killed a random sheriff who was literally directing traffic after a graduation, and so he had to been driving down the street, and this is just me guessing, of course, hypothetical. He probably was driving down the street and was like, there's a cop. And then he blacked out and ran full speed into the cop because he was thinking, I'm about to bury my son in the next week or 2 weeks or whatnot, because these people shot my son and my child. And I don't know if that's his only child, but I get the feeling it kind of was, or maybe not. I haven't looked that far into the detail, but people are saying, when is enough enough? How many times do we have to see this story played out? How many times? And so while this father operated independently, it was a sign of relief from some people who was like, about time. Yeah, he's standing on business. He 10 toes down. He's putting his mouth, or is it the money? Yeah, that's it. He's putting his money where his mouth is.
Putting the pedal,
right?
Putting his pedal to where his mouth is. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. So sorry. So sorry.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for apologizing.
S&M set it up. What do you mean? What do you mean?
Too soon. Right? I appreciate you apologizing.
You guys are
for
so
that,
insensitive tonight.
And so I just think that, so from the internet reaction, there's like, hey, there's some people who are saying, hey, they're going to take, for every one, they're planning on taking 5, right? Because they can't identify, or they can't get to that direct person who may have done something. So they're going to hit the 5. And they're like, maybe it's time for us to have this type of violent reaction. Now, I personally don't necessarily think it's time for us to have this violent type of reaction, because we already know that they're waiting for something. They're waiting to trigger. They're waiting, right? And so, but that could be conspiracy as well, about them waiting for the race war that for some reason people keep trying to start. And you have people with manifestos recently saying they're trying to start a race war. And so, because once again, when is enough enough? And when do we react? And how do we react? And how do we move as a community so that we can ensure that our community is safe? Jay, you mentioned about us policing ourselves, but did you know that in Ohio, I think it was Toledo, where they had the KKK or the neo-Nazis who basically bombarded this neighborhood? So they decided to make their own patrol, and then the news interviewed them as if they were the ones that fought, because they decided to have their own patrol and do kind of like what the Black Panthers used to do back in the day. And so it becomes, well, that's already being viewed negatively and being shamed negatively, even though it was a response to neo-Nazis walking through their neighborhood. And I'm just saying that at some point, we either need to organize to figure out how we can move ahead, and we also need to continue to, personally, I feel, continue to use our dollars and support Black. Although some people do not believe that supporting Black businesses is a thing. But yes, please buy Black, support Black, and so forth. And that's my moment for Black support, Black business. Back to the situation, though, I just want to say that both families lost somebody. It's a shame that 2 lives were lost, and that one person, if he has a family, he's going to spend the rest of his life in jail, because there's no way he can get around this. And he knows this. And that's why he walked into court with the meanest mug he could have on his face, his head held high, and I'll do it again. And so it's a sad story all around.
Absolutely is. And the thing, and just, I want to say this though too, Jay, right? There's a lot of people who probably feel like we're already at war with the police, my guy. And this is just another casualty to that war, right? I'm talking about the internet kind of evoking the feeling of the internet too, right? There's also a part of the internet, I mean, I'll pass it right to you, that says, there's this blue wall thing, right? That police officers, even those of them who are not the ones who are responsible at times, either through just not saying anything, tend to be complicit even after the fact, knowing that their fellow officers may be causing harm. So there are some people who feel like that's for them, their way of kind of saying, hey, man, yes, this other sheriff may not be as innocent as we may think to a certain extent. And while I don't necessarily agree with that, because I just don't think that the loss of life here was appropriate at all, right? It didn't go through any process. To me, that's the biggest issue that I have. I get it, the idea that, hey, I want to take life into my own hands. I just don't think that system's set up for anybody to do that, even though some people do that. So that's where I kind of push back on. But the point is that some people will say, that other police officers are complicit in this. And so how do we encourage other police officers to step up? Because if they feel like, well, damn, I didn't do nothing, but yeah, I'm finna get the blowback from somebody else doing something. I think that's the logic from the internet to try to put pressure on either other police officers or people in general to just do better, to where we don't find ourselves not only having to deal with this, but then also not getting justice because other people are being quiet and not speaking up for the motherfuckers on the squad who's really doing all the fucked up shit. So,
You know, I think that it could be said that we're at war. I heard someone earlier in their statement talking about our side and their side. I mean, we've been at this for a while. We've been at this before civil rights, right? This is how the Crips came about and the Bloods came about. They weren't initially, people scourges of the community. Initially, they were there because we felt like we needed an answer to what the state-sponsored law enforcement was doing in our communities, and then that turned sour, right? And so there is no one shot solution, except it's a piece. It's a solution-based community, right? It's based community in terms of what we agree that we will accept within our walls of our community, and then us promoting people to be, like I said, officers from the community. I know, but look, if we can try to push Calvin to move up to fries at McDonald's, then we can try to get somebody with some character to be an officer from our neighborhood, from our block, that we know, who knows us, who polices us with care. There was a airman who was killed by a law enforcement officer in his own home, right? He just answered the door. It was down in Florida, I think, and just got shot. Somebody reported there was an argument in his apartment. It wasn't even true. The officer went up there. The officer banged on the door. The guy answers the door with his gun, which is lawful. Gun is pointed down. The officer says, boom, 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 drop the gun, in that order, right? Body cam footage shows all that. What I'm saying is, yes, we have a problem. We have always had a problem. But our way to address it is not the way you don't go the way they're pushing you to go, folks. We need to be active. We need to be the solution. If we don't like the way cops are, be better cops. If we don't like the crime in our neighborhood, well, I don't know. I don't have all the solutions, man, but let's start there.
That's what I was about to say, man. Like, listen, y'all remember, I recently just saw a video where Atlanta put out, and it was fly. They did like a little play on Kendrick Lamar's They Not Like Us or whatever. I don't know if it went viral, if you guys got a chance to see it. So yes, there are some, and I guess it would be Atlanta, creative police departments who are trying to reach out to people. But also in Atlanta, I believe it was a couple of years ago, where these young people got manhandled and done wrong by police officers who were Black, who looked like them, who most likely from the neighborhood. So I do get this idea that just because, they're from the neighborhood, is going to be a solution to a problem. But unfortunately, it goes back to the code of the blue wall. Because guess what? Some of these police officers and departments have Black guys in there too. Do you ever hear them? Now, I'm not knocking them, because they deal with some challenges too in terms of being able to speak up in those instances. You dig what I'm saying? But here's the thing, right? I don't think this guy was sitting here looking for a solution. So when we want to frame it as that, I feel like we do him a disservice to a certain extent, because we're putting and projecting what we think it should have been for him. We're saying, we would not do X, Y, and Z. Listen, if the guy did have a mental break, and you understand what that means, at least to meet the mental, the legal bar, then how can any of y'all say that could never happen to you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I get if you're saying that you believe he made a conscious decision, so therefore maybe the law would not be able to protect him because mentally he did not have a breakdown. I'm saying it is possible that he did have a mental breakdown. So whereby it's not a matter of him saying, hey, you know what? Me running over this police officer is going to put a little splash in the ocean of this whole Black Lives Matter thing. It was none of that. So for me, I just understand that for him, that he was going through a situation where I can understand emotionally and mentally it could have been a challenge for him. And he did something that unfortunately ended up in the life of someone else being lost. So I'm just saying, when we talk about these things, for me, I feel like I don't always need to put me on it. I'd rather try to see what was going on with them, because guess what, Jay? Maybe it's not organized. Maybe we don't think it's the best strategy. But if enough people find themselves motivated in terms of vigilantism, I think there are going to be people who move a certain type of way. And I'm sorry, I don't think they are setting us up to go in there. Nah, they don't need no fucking excuse. You think they need an excuse to come shooting us down if they really want to do that? You think, let's set it up to where these Negroes are really upset because we need every justification. No, nigga.
To the extent that they want to do it, yes.
When they have, I'm telling you, I don't think they need justification. I'm telling you, I don't think they have to come up with this elaborate plan. No, because guess what? Humans are going to human, bro. You kill my son, I'm going to feel some type of way about it. right? Humans are going to human. It doesn't mean they're a part of some larger Black conscious of how we as Black people should move. And I'm just saying, as a human being, I understand. I'm saying as human beings, I understand that some of us, we can say we're going to do a thing, but we don't know what we would do in a given situation. And so that's why I'm saying, like, it sounds good, but that brother lost his life. And I'm telling you, me personally, I do think it's possible he had a mental break. And I cannot tell you I would not have a mental break if something tragic happened to me for real, for real. Come on, man.
I think that it is possible he had a mental break. I completely believe that. My point is this. First off, all right, I'll say I was upset that GoFundMe canceled his GoFundMe campaign at the behest of the Fraternal Order of Police, whatever. I was like, if Dylan Roof can get GoFundMe, then why can't this man get GoFundMe? Now, the counter argument would be that technically by attacking the cops, it was an act of terrorism, and they are raising funds, for a terroristic act or whatever. It can RICO out of control, depending on how they want to spin it. So I see that. But my point, my larger point is this, y'all. We can try to support this man in his grief, because we can all mourn with him. We can all hurt with him. We should. Black, white, green. You should mourn for a man who lost his son and did not get answers why, who lost his child. Any parent lost their child and did not get answers why. We should all grieve and mourn. Our hearts should go out to them, right? But what I'm saying is we can support him. We can mourn for him. We can stand behind him. What we cannot do is make him a hero. What we cannot do is make him an example, because that does not serve us in our long-term best interest.
And in 2009 in Oakland, I was still living in the Bay, and there was a young man that had encountered a police officer. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he ended up killing the cop, right? And there's no justification to this. The cops came to his house, SWAT team kicked in, and this brother killed 5 of them. When I tell you, from 2009 right now, his name rings in Oakland on the anniversary of the death of those cops. It rings in Oakland. People say, because they killed him, right? Ultimately, they barged into the house and they retaliated, and he died, of course. I would like to believe that when he killed the first cop, he knew that he wasn't going to make it, and he went for the gusto, quote unquote, and kind of went as far as he felt that he could. But yes, martyrdom in movements matters. Like, let's not pretend that there haven't been people who have martyred themselves and made significant changes throughout our world and throughout our time. We can't just say because it's Mr. Hinton Jr. and he was a nobody to somebody, right? That he's not important enough, or that his movement wouldn't be important enough to spark some change. Do I think it will? No, because we are an environment that is shaped by social media, and this is more entertainment for most of us, and we'll forget next week and we'll go back to living our lives. That's why it's important sometimes to be martyred, because your memory lasts on in what you did. It doesn't validate what you did. It just says that this person tried to do something against the regime or against the regime in which none of us been able to do. Which is why we know who Rosa Parks is today too, right? She was the only one to sit down and stay down, and we remember her. And I think that sometimes it takes that. Do I say that murder is a great thing? No, but in revolutions there are casualties of war, and we are hopefully in the beginning of some sort of revolution, because we are still marginalized and oppressed here. There is no good answer.
I just wanted to push back on the whole we can't make him a hero, because he's already a hero to some people. And whether we agree he is a hero or not, he's already a hero to some people, because there were some people already waiting for somebody to take a stand like this. There were some people already waiting for somebody to say, you know what? And like I said, I don't actually think he did it constantly. I do think it was a mental break, but it was the aftermath of how he just stood on it and was not remorseful. I won't say not remorseful, but he just stood on it and was like, I did what I did, and I'll do it again, for the most part, simply because he already committed that act. So he became a hero to some people in that moment, whether we say it or not. That's like the people who said that we was like, George Zimmerman shouldn't be a hero, but he was to some people. Kyle Rittenhouse was a hero to some people. It's a whole list of people who are heroes to some people. So for us to say that he can't be a hero, he's already a hero to some people. That's why the internet is reacting the way the internet is reacting, And then based on the current climate, it's like, hey, maybe we need more people like him. Maybe we don't. It's basically maybe we need more people who's going to stand on this type of business, or maybe we don't. And so it's just one of those things. I almost feel like it's almost like So, you know, the two extremes between Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, where one was a pacifist and one was by any means necessary. And the one who ended up winning was because they was like, Lyndon B. Johnson was like, this person over here, any means necessary. We don't want that. Let's go ahead and support this person over here. And let's go ahead and pass the Civil Rights Act because this person over here is a pacifist and he's talking about turning the other cheek. I think that may kind of trigger some type of moment. I don't know for sure because it's pretty early on. And I'm personally not trying to turn him into a hero, but I just want to acknowledge and push back that he's already a hero to some just because he took action. And a lot of people won't take that type of action. And a lot of people, and even if it was a mental break action, is the fact that he stood on it after the fact. And that's what some people are upholding the hero status for.
Listen, I want to ask one last quick question, right? Because as you guys were talking, and it's been a great episode. I ain't gonna hold you. Until we got serious, of course, or at least try to stay serious as much as possible. Not asking you guys specifically, but just wanted you guys to give me a quick number and then hopefully we can kind of get into final takes, right? What percentage of people do you think would give their lives in order to get justice for their slain child? Right? I'm going to ask that again, give you guys a chance to think about it, right? What percentage of people do you think would give their lives for justice? Not necessarily give your life to protect your kid's life, but I'm saying that you'd be willing to give your life in the sake of justice. What percentage of people, Black people, do you think would do that? Does anybody want to answer that? Just kind of curious. The reason why I thought of that, right? Because a lot of times we try to think about what people's motivations might be. And maybe if he lost his mind, then cool, there's no motivation there. He just kind of lost it, right? But I was sitting here thinking like, with this case, a lot of people are going to pay attention to what happened to his son. There's going to be a lot of scrutiny because I think at the heart of it, people are going to want to try to find out whether or not the father was justified to lose it the way that he did. Like, for example, if he would have saw his son being murdered right there or whatever, right? Like just in the worst way violated, right? Then I felt like, and it became known that that was the case, I think you could convince a jury on some jury notification shit or whatever, right? To be like, nah, he was justified, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess my question to y'all though is, so that made me think like, in terms of, hey man, you did this to my son, I'm gonna take one of y'all. Eye for not justice. But I think if there was some injustice here, it's likely to be revealed because of this particular case. That's what kind of made me think about the question. So hopefully you guys had enough chance to think about it, right? Just real quick, what percentage of people do you think would give their lives in order to get justice for their slain child? Anybody want to just real quick, and a quick explanation, and then we can move on. Anybody?
I'm going to go 20%.
Okay, 20%, that's pretty low.
80-20, yeah, I'm going 20. Okay. 80% they're not really about that life. It's not going to happen.
I would say if you account for religious people and rule them out, you know what I'm saying, then I think you probably take 75% of non-religious people. If you did something to their child, they'd be going for revenge.
75% of you ain't got to give us an equation answer, but okay, I'll take it.
They got to be non-believers.
Well, listen back.
I think I have low expectations, but go ahead, Tia.
I don't think anybody wants to die, but I think over our kids, most of us would if we had to. And I think that's just a natural protective instinct as a parent. If a bullet was flying and your kid was there, you would jump in front of it instinctively. You wouldn't think about your life in that moment. So I think in the moment when challenged with opportunity, which is what Mr. Hinton was, then most of us would take it. I think that, and especially if it was in the regard where we didn't have a chance to really just think, it was just the ability to react. And that's kind of why the crime of passion law lies, because it's like in the moment, it's an opportunity to do something. And I did it because in that moment, I felt the need to. It wasn't a premeditated. So I think a lot of us would. I won't say, at first I was going to say 75%. I think that's a fair number. But then who wouldn't, sacrifice themselves for their child unless you're just I won't say you're a piece of shit parent, right? But they're a piece of you.
But for justice, though?
For justice?
So be clear, I'm talking about for justice. Yeah, because not
after the fact.
There's a difference, right? I get what
shit.
you're saying in terms of, hey, I'm going to save my child's life. But no,
Mm-hmm.
Hey, my child died and I'm going to get justice for him no matter what. That's the question.
I would say maybe 60, maybe 50. 50% of people would go gang just for justice.
Oh, look at you believing in people.
I would say.
Wow, I am so cynical because I'm going with 1%. I was like, get the fuck out of here with these high-ass numbers. It's 1% because we've seen time and time again where our children have been slain right? Or some people, children have been slain, and you know how they pursue their justice through civil courts, right? Through monetary means and so forth. But they weren't on eye for eye. They weren't on tooth for tooth. They weren't going out there to get that justice, even after the person was let go and free. If that's the case, why the hell George Zimmerman still walking around kicking it and signing Skittle bags? You know what I'm saying? And so I'm going to call a cap on all that shit.
Thank you, SNM.
And say 1%, because fundamentally we are too comfortable in our lifestyles. We are too comfortable with who we are, and to stand on that type of business. We're not going to stand on that type of business, because I want to say it's going to sound cold. We're cowards, right? Because it takes a certain type of person, unless you have a mental break, it takes a certain type of person to be methodical and plot revenge. Because that's what you're looking at. You're looking at somebody who's plotting revenge for the purpose of seeking justice for their lost child after the fact. And going in with that mindset that this is now, they have to go in the mindset saying, hey, if I get caught, it's premeditated, right? Because it was after the fact and I had time, unlike in this case where I don't necessarily believe it was premeditated. It was that was actually a crime of passion. It was like spontaneous moment, in my opinion. But so I'm just going to say cap on all y'all and say 1% at most. And that's me giving a high number of 1%.
And that is so perfect. And that's the reason why people will make him a hero. Because people will kind of idolize people who act in manners and ways that they wish they had the courage to, because they really want to, right? And when they see somebody else doing it, they resonate with that. So with that being said, man, let's get these final takes up out of here. This has been a great conversation. I mean, next time, let's not end with the sad shit. Let's start with the sad shit.
We'll start with the sad
and then work back way, because this was such a good time. It's like you had a great night, and then it just kind of got
somber.
What's our final thoughts before we get up out of here? Tia's back with us, girl. What's your
I'm so happy to be back. I love the conversation. I love that we ebb and flow between, the entertainment world and the real world, and I'm thankful to be here per usual. Hopefully Black people can find a way to stabilize. And I think that the algorithm that the world has set in place for us doesn't allow us to want to react. So martyrdom until we do something different, right?
Yes, appreciate that. Talk to him, Queen. Hey, Jay, what's happening? Because on my screen, you next. We just going down the line. Jay, what's happening?
Yeah, look, my big takeaways are that nobody wants to be alone, that we all need somebody. And when you take our somebody, then, repercussions will happen. Just so as you look to finding your somebody, make sure that you look for more than just a womb that's a warmer and just a vagina. Try to get to know the whole person. Try to have more than just a vagina to sell. Man, people, let's try to come up with solutions that stop this before it happens. Let's try to keep the police out of our neighborhoods. Let's try to do that.
Man, listen, great show as always. Glad my girl Tia is back. And SNM wasn't alone. We didn't gang up on her and abuse her like we did last episode. So shout out to us for not doing that. But I just say all that to say we need each other, and we got to come up with ways to just take each other with a little more gentleness. Whatever it is you want. Find the people who align with you, whether it's relationships, marriage, spirituality. Find the people that align with you, and things are going to go good. And that's going to solve most of your issues. A lot of other things in life will take care of itself. So, like I align with everybody on the BLC podcast, you find the people who align with you.
Yes, sir. SNM.
Aw, that was so Do you heart?
Well said.
And so
had the benefit of being proven.
That part.
And so I actually want to do a slight callback to something that Nic said earlier in regards to hurt people. And so I want women to be cautious in regards to how much leeway you give to somebody who is hurt and not willing to heal or seek therapy. Because sometimes as women, we have a tendency to take that hurt from that person, and we feel that we can help lift them up, we can help build them. But if they're not willing to put in the work to heal their own hurt and they're relying on you, then you're destined to fail. So be cautious, and in this case, practice that discernment that Nic spoke so highly on and of, and just be careful when you're looking at. And when I talk about hurt people, I'm actually thinking of Paul Pierce as an example, where Nick, you talked about how he was hurt and so forth, and even the red pills, how they're hurt, but their hurt shouldn't be your trauma. And therefore, you shouldn't be trauma bonding with their hurt. If you want to take them on, then make sure that you're taking them on because they're already in the process of healing. As a matter of fact, come to these women healed completely. Women, you need to wait till they heal completely before you go ahead and take on that, because if you take on their hurt, it's just going to hurt you too.
Yes. Listen, man, I think what I hope to try to convey in some of these stories is that I just try to understand. Like I said earlier, like to me, so many of us just live in our own worlds. We're literally like, what's that game where you're like the first person shooter, right? Sorry for that callback or pun. But I mean like the fact that you look at everything from your own perspective. Everybody's an NPC, a non-playable character, right? It's only just about you. And I get playing the game that way, but I don't think that's reality for real, because guess what? That NPC has their own version. You're an NPC in their world. People are struggling just to navigate each other for real, for real. So like every opportunity that we get, I choose to rather try to understand because I find value in understanding versus condemning. I feel like we judge all the time. I have fun. I have learned in this podcast that having fun, joking, and gaslighting people can be a fun pastime. But if we get to like some serious core of things, it is fun for real. I see, and y'all are so easy for it. Like it's like, oh my God, I didn't know. No one of these niggas be doing it. It's so much joy here. I like it here. But anyways, my point is that if we spent a little bit more time trying to understand other people, I think we spend a little bit more time somehow understanding more about ourselves. But because we don't do that, we find ourselves in little boxes and we think we know everything, but we don't give ourselves the freedom to roam enough to really discover parts of ourselves that we didn't know existed in the first place. So if I'm not going to go out there and do what other people did, the least I could do is be a first-person shooter in their narrative. I don't have to experience it, but I can try to empathize with it, right? Because I can understand it. And if God forbid I would have went through a tragedy, guess what? I would be definitely empathizing with what he's feeling right now because I would have went through it too. At the end of the day, not enough of us empathize with each other enough. And I think at the heart of it, whether it's a white police officer, right? Whether it's the woman who was, like, there's a lot of reasons why I don't think empathy, to me, my solution is empathy. All we need is love and understanding and empathy. With that being said, on behalf, I know it was corny, but I don't care. On behalf of SNM Jones, Delvin the Expert, Just Jay, and TMB back on we'll see y'all next time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and all that good stuff. And we got the merch, of course. I mean, you know, you already know what it is. Like I said, we'll see y'all next time. Be easy until then. Check us out. And we got the BLC Pod Clips channel on the YouTube. We're doing a lot of stuff, man. Y'all stay tuned. See y'all next time. Peace. I got my nails done too, by the way.
Love you like a play cousin.
I got a manicure.
Fancy.
Sassy.
I got the buff too, girl.
Not
I got
the
the buff, girl.
You're not poor.
Yeah,
you're splurging.
We don't
no French tips.